Today we're going to rank 1 through 32, my NFL power rankings after week 7. Going into week 8, going to get right into it. The New York Jets, I have them at 32, staying put from where I had them last week. They're the only team without a win. They have to be number 32. Number 31, the Miami Dolphins drop a point to number 31 after a 31-6 loss to the Cleveland Browns. It just was a terrible performance. Tua got benched. The post-game press conference wasn't... It's been typical Miami this whole season, and it's looked really bad. The Tennessee Titans, I have them going up a spot to number 30. This really is only because of the fact that they have not had a worse season than the two teams I just put behind them. At number 29, I have the Arizona Cardinals. They played a tough game against the Green Bay Packers. Even though they lost, they looked okay with Jacoby Brissett in at quarterback. And again, kind of like Tennessee, Arizona hasn't had a worse season than the three teams behind them. New Orleans, I have them staying put as well at number 28. They played the Chicago Bears and lost this weekend, but there was a moment where it looked like they were about to make it interesting until Chicago scored again in the fourth quarter. New Orleans, they played a solid game. Even though Spencer Rattler had 3 interceptions, the offense, it seemed like in the second half, was starting to put some things together. The Baltimore Ravens at 27, they actually didn't play this week. It probably was the best thing to happen to them since they started this regular season, is that they just have a week off. They could get Lamar Jackson healthy so that he's hopefully in the starting lineup this week. And overall, you just want the general health of your team to be better. And the bye week right now, I think it was a perfect time for Baltimore. The Las Vegas Raiders, I have them dropping 2 points. They lose 31-0 on the road to the Kansas City Chiefs. This is two teams in completely different spots of their trajectory. The Raiders are just on the way down where they need to get almost to rock bottom. The Kansas City Chiefs are on their way up, and they might be getting close to being in the Super Bowl conversation again. The Houston Texans dropped 4 points to number 25 in my ranking. An okay performance on Monday Night Football. If you live on the West Coast, you were up till like 11 o'clock watching that game. That just makes you feel bad in general. And it makes you feel worse because you watch the Houston Texans basically do nothing for 3 hours. The New York Giants, I have them dropping 1 point to number 24. I don't know if it's bad or impressive that they let up 33 points in the fourth quarter. It's definitely historic. That's what you have to say about it. The Cleveland Browns, I have them jumping up 3 points to number 23. They had that 31-6 victory over the Miami Dolphins, like I mentioned. Dylan Gabriel played well. Quinshon Judkins played really well. The offense as a whole, 31 points. When's the last time you saw that if you're a Cleveland Browns fan? You've only seen it one other time since the start of last season. So it's like a great feeling that the defense and the offense in one game can have that type of performance. The Cincinnati Bengals at number 22, I have them going up 3 spots again as well. A really good game against a good Pittsburgh Steelers team. The Steelers were riding high off of their winning streak, and I think Cincinnati getting not only the victory, but a victory against a division rival like that at this time, it gives Cincinnati a lot of confidence going forward. Minnesota, I have them dropping 2 spots to 21. They lost to the Philadelphia Eagles 28-22. They shut down Saquon Barkley, but they allowed a lot of really big plays, especially to Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown. So some things that Minnesota is going to want to clean up going forward. I have them dropping a couple spots. The Washington Commanders at number 20. I think even though they dropped 2 spots, they're at a weird spot where it's like we have nobody healthy. We have no idea what this offense is really going to look like in a month. We probably just need to be patient and see once they get healthy what happens. But it's starting to get into the middle of the season, and you can't really just count on guys to be back next week and it to save the season. Some wins have to start coming along. The Atlanta Falcons, I have them dropping 2 spots after a loss to San Francisco. It was really the first game where Bijan Robinson couldn't just win the game for Atlanta, and they suffered for it. The Dallas Cowboys, I have them going up 4 spots to number 18. Dak Prescott looks incredible. George Pickens looks good as the number 2 receiver. CeeDee Lamb looks even better as the number 1 receiver. And the running game is still performing well. So it started down, but Dallas the last month has put a really good month together. At 17, I have the Carolina Panthers. They beat a bad New York Jets team, and Bryce Young got hurt at the end. But I still think at 4-3, the Carolina Panthers have had a really good start to the season. They deserve to be towards the middle in terms of power rankings. The LA Chargers, I have them dropping 4 spots after pretty convincing loss against the Indianapolis Colts. You are starting to get convinced that, without the offensive line at full strength, the LA Chargers are not able to run the ball well. Justin Herbert gets hit, and they're just not doing enough to win defensively, and it needs to be a bit better. The Philadelphia Eagles, I have them rising 1 spot. They do beat the Minnesota Vikings, so I think they deserve to go up. It still is not great looking. You take away the splashy 80 and 50-yard passing touchdowns from Jalen Hurts, and it looks like a tough day for the Eagles. So at 14, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. They go up 1 spot after beating the Las Vegas Raiders at home. I said it about the Raiders when I went through already. They're just a bad team right now. They don't look good. Geno Smith doesn't look good. The coaching decisions don't look good. The play calls don't look good. Offensive line looks terrible. So I'm not going to give Kansas City a lot of brownie points for beating one of the worst teams in the NFL. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they drop 1 point to number 13. They could have dropped even farther, but I think they still did beat the Chiefs a couple of weeks ago. Stacked up against the other offenses in the league, and especially compared to Philly and the Chargers, I think Jacksonville has been performing better on offense, even though they did only score 7 points this week. I think they're on that outer bubble of teams that could be contending soon. The Chicago Bears, I have them at number 12 after beating the New Orleans Saints. A similar feeling I have about the Kansas City Chiefs. They beat a team that I don't think is very good, and especially a team that's very young, especially at quarterback. They did exactly what they were supposed to do to win that game, and that was play really good defense, take the ball away, and score just enough. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I have them dropping 5 points to 11. They got beat by Jamar Chase, and Pittsburgh is typically not one of those teams that allows just one player to beat them, but it happened. And because of that, because of the fact that they have Jalen Ramsey, because of the fact that they have TJ Watt, who can get after the quarterback and affect the pass, they really did a poor job of taking the passing game away and forcing Cincinnati to run. And you need to be able to take another team's strength away. And if it's just that the other team's best guy is more talented than anyone that Pittsburgh has, then they're not going to be a team that can contend for a Super Bowl. The LA Rams, I have them going up 4 spots to number 10. They just absolutely waxed the Jacksonville Jaguars 35-7. Matthew Stafford had 5 passing touchdowns and I believe less than 200 passing yards. Just absolutely efficient in the red zone. And they shut down a really good Jacksonville offense, an offense that's been performing at a high level. Number 9, I have the Buffalo Bills. They are the other team that was on bye this week. I have them staying put at 9, but they're a team that needs a really big win. You look at their 4 wins, it's against a team record that combined only has 3 wins between the Ravens, Dolphins, the Jets, and the Saints. Those 4 teams have 3 wins combined. And the 2 teams that they've played that have winning records or at least a 500 record, they lost. And next week they go to Carolina. It's as close of a must-win game in the regular season as you get, because if you're staring at 4-3 against the Kansas City Chiefs, it could get kind of ugly and it could get kind of weird thinking about the Bills if they don't have one of these good wins going forward. So they kind of need to do something this week against the Panthers to start moving back up in the rankings. At number 8, I have the Denver Broncos. I said it about the Giants when I put them at 24. I don't know if it's more impressive or it's more worrisome that the Broncos were down 32-0 in the fourth quarter. And they actually came back to win the game. And again, it's pretty historic, but it's a tough way to want to win football games. The Seattle Seahawks, they go up one spot after handling the Houston Texans at home. Jackson Smith-Njigba has again proven he's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, if not the best wide receiver. The Green Bay Packers go up one spot after beating the Arizona Cardinals 27-23. Mike Parsons, I think, had 3 sacks this week, so it's going really well for the Packers right now. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they drop 4 spots to number 5 after losing to Detroit. It might be a spoiler, but I think Tampa Bay lost to probably the best team in the NFL. And I know they did not have Mike Evans after suffering a possibly long-term injury, possibly even towards the end of the year. They did not have Ibuka, and they did not have Chris Godwin to end that game. I still think that they're a really good football team. They have a great offensive line. They have a really good defense. And I think the plan for Tampa Bay was to win on defense, and they got somewhat close to doing that. 24-9. That's honestly a below average game for Detroit offensively. The San Francisco 49ers go up one spot to number 4. They end up winning this weekend, and still with Mac Jones at quarterback, but they got George Kittle back, and he didn't put up any fantasy points, but you could tell that this team, they gel better together. They perform better, whether it's run blocking, pass blocking, quarterback play in general. They improve when George Kittle is on the field. When you have Christian McCaffrey put up over 200 all-purpose yards, that's going to be really helpful too. The New England Patriots go to number 3 in my power rankings. They're 5-2. They've won 4 straight games against the Titans, Saints, Bills, and Panthers. And they play a good Cleveland team this week. Drake May is off to a really good start. He's going to get a test next week. But I think if they win, and if it's in a convincing fashion where the offense dominates, they're in contention to be in the top 2, depending on how these 2 teams in front of them play next week. Indianapolis, I have them at number 2. They're 6-1. They're probably the best team in the AFC. They're probably the team that not a lot of people want to go against. I think Indianapolis right now, they're performing at such a high level offensively. Whether it's Jonathan Taylor running the ball, or it's Michael Pittman, or Alec Pierce this last week, had a great performance against the LA Chargers. Indianapolis defensively has also just exceeded expectations. They came into this year after having a really poor performing defense last year, and that's with a lot of the same players. That's with DeForest Buckner and Kenny Moore and Grover Stewart and Zaire Franklin and Kwity Paye. Like, it's a lot of the same guys. They're just playing even better this year. Number 1, I have the Detroit Lions. Going into this week, I had them in Tampa Bay 1-2, so I think it only makes sense that after they beat Tampa Bay, they're the number 1 team in the NFL. And they're really setting the pace, I think, offensively. I think with how they've constructed their offense, they have a quarterback that can get the ball out quickly. They have 2 really good running backs. They have 2 really good receivers who, even though Jameson Williams didn't have a catch, he's still a guy that's able to break off a 70, 60-yard run or pass at any given moment. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's a guy that's going to get you down the field at a successful rate. Sam Laporta, really good tight end. Penei Sewell, the offensive line as a whole, really good. They're right now the best team in the NFL, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens in Week 8 because, again, there's teams right now I think that could really make a shot at getting into that top 5, top 3 type conversation. I think the Packers next week, they play the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. That could be a conversation afterwards of are the Green Bay Packers the best team in the NFL? They're going to be up there with Detroit. There's just a lot of teams, I think, right now, too, that are performing at a really good level. I think if you look at 1 through 18, so you go from Detroit to Dallas, you have teams that are competing every single week to get wins, and you have teams that are really good. They're getting really good quarterback play. I'd say the only team right now that isn't getting outstanding quarterback play is maybe Carolina. But they still have McMillan, they still have Hubbard, they still have Dowdle, they still have a really good offense. A lot of these other teams that are, Atlanta and back, they kind of have that one major deficiency that is keeping them held back, I think, from cracking the top 15 or so. But if you're a fan of any of these teams, I'm sure if you're watching this video, you're at least a fan of one of these 32 teams. Tell me where I'm wrong about your favorite team. Tell me where I'm right about another team. That would make me feel good to hear. And I'll see you in the next video.